Hey everyone, welcome back to the Daily Try and my preview and prediction show. This one I wanted to really highlight some of the dark horses that I haven't seen too much of mentioned in the media. And after 70.3 World Champs, where Rico Bogan, I'm looking at you, you snuck up on all of us. I wanted to make sure that didn't happen to us again, and I highlighted some of those names hidden on that start list that I think could potentially podium at a race like this. That's why I'm so excited for this World Champs. Unfortunately, I haven't made as much videos as I wanted to around the race like I did last year, but I was really focusing on making that fun video for Jan. You can check it out over. With that out of the way, onto the dark horses for this race. And man, starting off, Peter Hemric. I can't believe I have to put him in this category. It's mind-blowing to me, but I haven't seen much of him talked about recently. He's ranked 7th in the world. He was 2nd at Singapore, only beaten by Christian Blumenfeld. He's an all-rounder, swim, bike, and runner. And he was also 2nd at Ironman Hamburg with a 2:37 marathon. So he's got everything it takes to do well at this race. We saw with his bike there at Singapore that he was on another level. Peter Hemric, my #1 dark horse, don't count him out. And then another guy similar to Peter, and that's Denis Chevreau. I can't believe again that I'm putting him here as a dark horse. He's a French athlete, so this is in his home country, but he won Ironman Hamburg ahead of Peter Hemric by 5 minutes with a 2:31 marathon, which is staggering that he even runs those paces because he only started triathlon when he was 23 years old when he did his first Ironman. So how he's running that quickly, I have no idea, but he's a better swimmer than Peter Hemric. I think where he falls short is on the bike, but it being in his home country in France and him being a lighter athlete, this might actually suit him. So we'll have to wait and see how far back he is after the bike. But yeah, he will catch up to a lot of people on the run. And for me, if he's 10, 15 minutes back off of the bike, that's not too bad at all. So keep an eye out for him on the tracker. Like I said, he's an unreal swimmer coming from an open water swimming background at a high level. So he'll be at the front of the race to begin with. But then moving on from Denis Chevreau, and we're on to Arthur Horsau. Yeah. Not sure how to say that quite right, but he's Sam Laidlow's training partner. And I think he's the guy I'm most interested in watching for this race because he's Ironman's only wild card for this race. He was given a wild card because he was late to pick up his slot at Ironman Lanzarote, which he won, which is a very hilly, tough course, which is this one like Nice. But Ironman gave him that slot after he tried to race it in Ironman Nice in June and unfortunately DNF'd, but they understood and they were happy that he at least tried to race that race to qualify, so they gave him his spot. But he's gone on to win Amberman since there, smashing the course record and also beating Nick Heldorn by 20 minutes there. And Nick's a really good rider, and yeah, I think he is one to watch. Sam said he's right now biking away from him in training, which yeah, if you're biking away from the Kona bike course record holder, you must be doing well, and he's a heck of a runner too. So I think his swim will limit him here, but that bike ride is long enough that he could catch up pretty quick. Moving on from there, a similar athlete to me, to Horsau, Leo Arno, and I'm adding him in here because I don't think he quite has a shot for the podium, but a top 10 for sure. But I'm a huge fan of him ever since I heard about him at Ironman Switzerland. He got 2nd place there behind Jan van Berkel, who took all the big headlines. But Leo rode on his girlfriend's TT bike because I believe he had a crash with his a couple weeks prior. So the fact that he managed to pull off that result, a 2:42 marathon there, was mind-blowing to me. And I know since then he's trained specifically for this race. He's been on the course a ton. And yeah, I said he's put in 200 hours of training since then. I think he will catch up some spots on the run and potentially sneak into a top 10, which would be remarkable athlete. But moving on from there, someone who I think will do even better, and that is Robert Wilkowiecki. He's the 2nd place finisher behind Rudy von Berg in that close battle at Ironman Texas. He's a fantastic all-around athlete, which I think is what we'll need to see at this race. He's been quite quiet since Texas. He DNF'd at Challenge Roth, unfortunately, but since then he's been focused specifically on this race, and it looks like he's got some good partners and good team behind him, including Audi, which is probably a sign that they have some great faith in this athlete. I think he's like I said, strong all around and will feature, and I'm definitely going to put him in for a top 10. So keep an eye out on Wilkowiecki. But finally, my big dark horse, and this one is Jan Frodeno's dark horse as well. Also his training partner, Bradley Weiss. Now Bradley, many of you might not know, or you might have heard me talk about it before. He's a 2-time Xterra world champion. So he knows what it's like to be world champion. Jan says he's got the best power to weight ratio in the field and was dropping him on the climbs. And if we know anything about Xterra, those guys are not scared of the descents either, which I think will play a massive part in this race. So Bradley Weiss, he's got 6th at Roth. He's running better than ever. He was 8th at the US Open. And if he's Jan's dark horse, like I said, he's also mine. So he'll definitely be in the top 10 for me, but let's see if he can get into the top 5. I think that'd be a great result for him. Then finally, 2 others I wanted to add. Christian Hogenhaug, he's a brilliant swimmer. He's a strong biker. And he's on that epic new lightweight BMC bike we've been seeing all about. And then finally, this is a sneaky one I spotted on the start list, Christian Grue. And now he's from Norway, and that does sound a lot like Christian Blue to me. And we saw Christian is there in Nice right now. I wonder... No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, Christian Grue is another athlete from Norway. I don't think he will feature too well in this race, but yeah, I thought that was funny. He sounded so much like Christian Blue. But with that said, that's all my dark horses. If I've forgotten anyone, please do let me know. Of course, there's so many. I decided not to really add the French athletes in. I know they're a bit of dark horses, but I've heard them talked about a lot. So I wanted to share the light on some people who haven't been talked about that much. But on to my predictions then. And I have to say first that I think Magnus is the favorite going into this race. He's the fastest ever Ironman distance athlete to do it. It's a bloomin' hard bike course, which I think really suits him. And he's gone all in. We've seen this. He skipped the PTO Singapore Open. He's, you know, just completely done everything he could to get ready. His bike weighs a kilo and a half less, thanks to stripping the paint off, choosing each component specifically, custom making everything, including a carbon crankset. And what we've also seen recently is a dropper saddle. I don't think anybody else has done this before in triathlon. So Magnus, again, reinventing the game for everyone. So he'll be able to adjust that as he's going down on the descents to lower his saddle, which will lower his center of gravity. And yeah, apparently he's right now stealing all the KOMs off of even Rudy von Berg, we've heard. And yeah, putting a few minutes maybe into Cam Wurf even on the descent. So Magnus, I think, is going to be crazy on the bike course. And yeah, he ran so well in Roth that it makes sense why everybody's got him as the favorite. So with that said, I have to go with Jan Frodeno for the win. I'm sorry, I have to pick Jan, of course, after the video I just made yesterday. But seriously, I think Jan, after the US Open, showed us all that he could win here. And with another big block of training in his bank, especially, we have to remember that this time last year, he was just having surgery. So every block of training for him will make him even better. And I think we saw at the US Open, which was my biggest question mark after Hamburg, was how his run was. And he looked phenomenal. He looked like he was nose breathing at that pace to win the race. And yeah, I think Jan could run super fast here. We know he's a brilliant rider. He's a great swimmer. I'd love to see him get a gap out of the water. And for all those reasons, that's why I've got Jan as my #1 pick. And what a great way it would be to finish his amazing career. But then moving on from there, I've got Magnus Ditlev in 2nd place. You know, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Magnus won by quite a ways. Even Yuri Kulin, who I spoke to on the channel on my last podcast, he said,
I think Magnus Ditlev is going to murder everyone.
"Oh,
I think we're going to see something very special on that day."
So if that's anything to go off of, yeah, I think Magnus is just going to be a weapon. I think for me, the interesting point will be to see if he is farther down on the swim and has some time to make up on those top guys like Jan. So keep an eye out for that. And then Patrick Lange in 3rd. I know I said on my podcast Cameron Wurf, but I did some more thinking about it. And I think Patrick won't go slower than 15 minutes between the swim and the bike than Cameron Wurf. And I think Patrick could potentially run 15 minutes into Cameron. Now that's just my thoughts. Let me know. Cam, I think for me, will come in fourth then. I think he's been training specifically for this. And just listen to another podcast with him. He sounds raring and ready to go. He's done 4 Ironmans, I believe, this year. So he's got the experience in the bag. And yeah, this would be Cam's course to do it. He biked 13 minutes into some really good athletes like Simon Vane, who is an awesome cyclist and climber when Cam raced at Ironman Nice. So Cam is going to be a weapon on this bike course. It really suits him in my opinion because it's longer. We'll probably see some bike splits in around 4:30 to 4:45. It's even 10 kilometers longer than it was at Ironman Nice. So I think that really suits him. He's got such a big engine, and I think a lot of guys might suffer towards the end of this race with it being so long. So that's why I've got Cam in fourth. But Patrick Lange is just too good of an all-rounder, and this course suits him for how lightweight he is. And yeah, I think the swim will go well for him as well. But those are my picks. I want to hear yours down below. I've got a Morton starter pack for anybody who's the closest, for anybody who gets them. Thanks for the feed. And if nobody gets them, I want you all to add the overall winner's time as well, just in case, or if we need a time breaker. So put your top 3 down below and then the finisher's time, the number 1 finisher's time, and I'll pick a winner from there and I'll send you a Morton starter pack. But then to break down the race a little bit, to things to keep in mind, it's a salty water swim. It's gonna be non-wetsuit from all we've heard. But it might not be as advantageous as before for the front end guys. With Kona, there's often a swell, and you know, with the water being pretty buoyant here, I've heard some guys like Cam saying that actually he prefers to be in non-wetsuit at this race. I think you've even heard Sam Lalo said he would rather it be a wetsuit swim because he can get more of a gap with a wetsuit. So I don't think it'll be as advantageous. We also don't have so many top end swimmers here. We do have quite a few, so I think there might be a little breakaway if they can make it happen. I don't think it'll be like Kona with a big pack coming into T1. That'll just be my guess. But I think we really got to watch out where Magnus comes out and where Patrick Lange comes out. Patrick's going to try and make that front pack, you'd have to imagine, whereas Magnus I don't think will quite make it, and we'll have to see how much time he's got to catch up. Then moving out onto the bike, the first bit is flat and fast, all in the TT position. I don't think we'll see too many gaps happening there, but I think everybody will be going all out in that section before they hit the climbs. And then this is where we'll see the real breakups happening. But I don't think the climbs will separate people as much as I think the descents will be the true game changer here. And especially with guys like Magnus running a 1x setup, he will be flying on those downhills. We've heard they're all pedalable, if that's a word. And yeah, I think guys might have overcooked themselves by that part in the race and won't be pushing the watts going downhill, which we know Magnus is the best at. And I think Magnus will be flying into T2, that if they put wings on his bike, that he might actually be literally flying into T2. So I think that's where it's gonna really separate, and guys will get the time they need for the run. But then out onto the run, it's flat and fast, 4 loops. I've heard the guys at the pro conference say that it's going to be a mentally tough one. It's going to be hot and humid after being so long out on the bike as well. Some guys might have some nutrition issues, I could see. They might, there might be a lot of explosions. And yeah, with the age groupers coming onto the course, it might be crowded as well. I think it'll be great for spectating with a lot of energy, and I can't wait to see them run down that finisher chute. But yeah, I don't think anybody's running a 2:30 here after that super tough bike course, but I could see the top guys like Lange running around 2:35, and then the top finishers anywhere between 2:35 to 2:40. So that's what I predict. Let me know what you guys think. How's the race gonna play out down below? But yeah, that's it. I cannot wait for this race. I'm actually buzzing so much about it that I've decided to do another live watch along. The hours are terrible here for me in the States, so I'll be up for the swim and into a good bit of the bike. Then I'll get some sleep and I'll come back for the run. And yeah, please do join in. That'll be live on my channel. Come chat about it, and I'll try and make it as entertaining as possible. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I've really enjoyed the build up to this race. I've just booked my flights to Kona because I've got so much FOMO not being in Nice, and I don't want to miss out on the fun in Kona. But yeah, join me in the watch along. Thanks again. Have a good one. Cheers.